All right. So I brought home a new toy. This is another one that I found in a barn, just covered in dirt and dust. But it's in good shape. You know, looks like it's been through it. But it's all there except for a tire, and it's in really good shape. It's pretty solid. This is a Snapper, the SR1230, which so it has the 12 horsepower rear engine and a 30-inch mowing deck. So I'm going to get it off the trailer and give it a good look over. Alright, so I got it off the trailer and hosed it down. Actually looks pretty good wet, doesn't it? But this tire over here, it's an inch wider than it should be, but I never could get it to hold air. Some big cracks on the side of that tire, so I guess I'll either get a tube or I'll just get a tire to match that one. The front two are holding air, so that's good. The gas tank and what else? The battery cover I have over here, sitting on top of this chair. And I haven't washed it off, but everything's there, so that's good. And the seat's in great shape. So the next thing, I washed it off, so I'm going to hook up a battery to it and see if it'll crank over. This looks like it needs to be riveted back on. No big deal. So I'm pretty pleased. I've been wanting to get my hands on one of these for quite a while. But we'll see. So that's the next project. I'm going to make sure the engine's cranking and then just go through with a fine-tooth comb, you know, give it a little TLC and see how it goes. Alright, so I'm finally about to start working on this Snapper here. It's been looking it over, and you can see I already replaced the right tire there. And when I look at this one real close, it's going flat now, and it turns out that it was just a tube in there, and you can see that little nozzle. They had one of those wire clamps around it. When you take that off, it just fell apart. So looks like I might as well just get another matching tire, right? So in the meantime, I'm looking at this. I do have a battery I'm going to hook up to this. Trying to pull start it. You can see this the hood here needs to be re-riveted. So I guess I could take all this off, and you'll see the last time I tried with the battery, the starter was just spinning. It wasn't engaging. So I'm going to take the cover off, and I guess I'll re-rivet this stuff, drill those out, put new rivets on. And while it's off, I'll see if the starter is repairable. If not, I can pull start it, but a electric start would be nice. So I think that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to concentrate on getting the engine running first, and then we'll go through and look at all the because I think the clutch on this thing, everything, it needs a lot of adjustments. I mean, there's a lot of adjustments that goes on with these, and once they're tuned in, they're great. But I can tell when I'm, and the brake is off, but you can hear it under there. It's really hard to push and pull around, and I don't think the clutch is releasing that drive wheel all the way as it should. But anyway, like I said, there's a lot of adjustment that goes on underneath, so we'll take a look at all that after I get this engine running. So, alright, I'm going to get started here. Alright, so I got the top of that off. and it definitely needs to be re-riveted. But the pull string is okay. And that's okay, it's not all stripped out. That's good, because let me show you what I got. So you can see here, the starter is moving up, but you can see how these gears right here, they're all worn out at the top end where it actually engages up here. They're just all stripped out. And then on the flywheel part of it too, you can see where there's some good gears, but back here you can see they're just all chewed up. So even if I put a battery on it and try to crank it, it's just going to spin. Those gears need to be replaced. Okay, so yeah, some nice junk in there. Yeah, needs a little cleaning, but it's not bad. Just mud dauber stuff, doesn't look like any mice or anything. So I am going to go re-rivet. Make sure that's good and solid, and we'll pull start it. Almost out. Tempted just to go ahead and repaint the whole thing. Mask all this off and that. Let me see what paint I've got. Alright. So while that's drying, I'll let it dry before I rivet everything on. And while that is drying, I think I'm going to take the air cleaner off. See how dirty all this is in here, and in the carburetor too. I guess I can reach under here. Get to the carburetor. I want to see what the bowl looks like at least. This, luckily, everything was bone dry, and the inside of the tank is really clean. Lucked out on that. So set that aside. Not bad. There's some gunk in there, but at least it's clean. That's good. So let me wipe this down, and I'll go ahead and leave the carburetor on when I try to crank it, because it looks okay. And just the gasket that came off of here was shot, so I'm going to see if I can find a gasket that'll fit that so it won't leak. And I'll go ahead and check the throttle. Looks kind of rusty in spots, but alright, it's still moving. There's the choke. It's a little rough, it's tight, so I just clean everything up and get some WD-40 down into the cable, and so that's not bad. So So this went to the battery. Oh no. Let me get on this other side and I don't know if you can see what I see down here. Let me see if you can see this. So right in there, can you see all that? There's the white, yellow, what else in there? And a brown. And there's a red. Where's that going to? So they clipped a bunch of wires. Great. Yeah, so they're trying to bypass. Looks like they wire tied that down to bypass the seat switch, but it's, you can see it's been cut anyway. Looks like it was spliced and cut. Let me take this cover off. Looks like they're just wing nuts up here. We'll get a better look at the wiring on this side. There we go. Alright, there's a relay. Okay, this goes to probably the brake safety switch under there, and it's been cut. Yep, there's the brown, yellow, and there's the other white one that's been cut. And underneath here you can see this is hanging from the seat. Great. Well, the big question is, I guess when I crank it over, we'll see if we're getting spark. We'll see if everything's shorting out or what, and see what we can do with all this. So that's all painted up, and I put it back on. Actually looks pretty good. I might have to do the rest of it. But you can see where instead of rivets, I just had to find these nuts and bolts that I had lying around. My rivet gun is not riveting. It's all jammed up in there. I don't think I've used that in probably 20 years, but I think that will work until I'll either get another rivet gun or find some, because I think the rivets I had were kind of small anyway. But at least this will keep it in place while I crank it. And first thing, I'm going to check for spark. It's going to be hard to see it. It's kind of bright out today, but I'm trying to put it somewhere where I can see it. There, can you see that? I'm going to have a hard time seeing this from over here. Let me yank on it a few times. I don't see anything. Can you see it? I'm too far away. So let's mess with the wiring and see if we can find out if it's shorting somewhere. And just to make sure, I did pour some gas directly down in there and cranked it quite a few times just to see, since I couldn't see if there's any spark. I just wanted to try it out just to make sure, and sure enough, I don't think it wasn't even trying. So let's track the wiring down. But there was just a few screws, these two holding it on. Took the handles off, and this little foam deal going around the steering column. You can just kind of mash it up and swing everything out of the way like that. So this is going to be hard to get to also. So I can feel it back here. Looks like I can take it off no problem. Getting it back on is going to be another story. So this should be easy to test. Let me get my multimeter and I'm going to do a continuity check. So it looks like the red one, all three of these wires go to the rear. The red one is the 12 volt on the battery. The blue one, when you're starting it, this sends the signal to the starter solenoid, and then the black, I guess, is just a ground. Yeah, looks like the ignition switch is okay. Alright, so I got that all put back together. No big deal. Now let's follow these wires. So here is the cable coming from that ignition switch. There's the brown, blue, and the red. So the brown, or black, is that black? You can see where it's grounded over here at that point. Here's the blue. And that is where the signal is sent to the starter solenoid. So the red has to be going to 12 volts, which is probably where this was cut. Yeah, so there's your 12 volts, so that when you... There's the off, it's ground, run, sending 12 volts, and then boom, when you turn it to start, that's when it sends through the blue. Okay, so that's there. This one, there's a blue and a black, and you can see there's the junction right here. So this one is going to probably the Magneto. Yeah, so this is just on a piece of plastic, so it's not making contact. There's the brown that's grounded. Here's the black. And the black is going where? There's the brown. This white one looks like it was clipped off of here. So this has got to be going to the brake safety switch, all up under here. I can't see it. I'll probably have to take this cover off to see. But it doesn't matter. When I'm looking at this going, well, okay, I can search for that later, but for right now, looks like the brake safety switch is disconnected, the seat safety switch is disconnected, and the ignition is operating. So somewhere in here, I guess I need to check on the Magneto and make sure it's not shorted out up here somewhere, because right now it should start, and the only thing controlling it would be your ignition here, on and off. Off connects to the ground and shorts it out and stops the spark. So let's take this off again and take a look at the Magneto. Okay, so here we are again. Yeah, so that's going to the Magneto, and it is connected. So right now it shouldn't be showing a ground, right? It should be controlled from here going to the ignition. This one, can't tell where it's going. This brown ground has been cut over there, but when you look at this, yeah, so it's already showing it grounded up here. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to first I'm going to pull it off the Magneto here and sift some gasoline in over and see if it'll turn over, see if that'll catch our spark. Of course, I have no way of turning it off, but just with that little bit of gas I'm going to put in, it's not going to run that long anyway, right? So I'm going to try that and see if it generates a spark. Okay, well, I didn't see any spark, so I took the cover off again, and I'm going to check the Magneto. The Magneto might be bad, because you can see here's the cutoff wire there, and it's disconnected, and there's still no spark. So I guess I'll take this off. I'll look at the specs and see what kind of resistance this should be showing through the multimeter, and maybe it's a bad Magneto. Alright, so here's the Magneto. And I cleaned it off a little bit so we can get some good contacts here. So ground to ground, okay, it's reading. Let's go from that tip. Yep, nothing at all. Okay, well, I wonder if it's the tip here. Well, let's check another. I'm going to have to find a replacement. I have my little goodie box over here. You can see there. Bunch of oldies. Don't know if they work or not. Because the biggest thing when you compare them, see, that one looks almost identical, but the cable's a little shorter. But the biggest thing, you can see a difference on the diameter that's cut, and then make sure when you're looking at the lengths from here to here, make sure they're the same after you mount this on, and make sure these positions are the same. If not, if it's skewed off a little bit, it throws off the timing. Let me see if I find a good example here. Alright, let's see if this one gives us some kind of reading. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this one looks like it is good. Okay, let's see if this will fit in and if it will reach the I know this cable was a little shorter. Alright, here's one that looks like it could work. The mounting's right on. It just looks like the diameter here. It's a tighter diameter on this one than this flywheel. But maybe it'll be enough to generate a spark. I'll still gap it off. And that will barely fit. Oh, there went my phone. Alright. So you can see I got the cover back on. And the Magneto is connected. So out of curiosity, I want to see. Let's see, that's with the ignition switch off. Okay, now the ignition is on run. Yep, there we go. Alright. And from here to here, to the chassis ground. Okay, it's not showing it grounded. Let's turn the ignition key back off. Yep, there we go. Alright. Well, it looks like that did it. So probably all the wire cutting and everything they did over there, they were trying to bypass all the safety switches when actually it was the Magneto was bad. So I'm going to reconnect this and then put some gas in it and see if it'll crank. Alright. Let's see. I need to turn the ignition on to run. There we go. I just siphoned some gas down in there. Hopefully it's just not going to flood it. Let's see if it'll crank over a little bit. Okay, so I fast forwarded over to this. So I had checked the spark. There was spark, and we took the spark plug off and injected some gasoline directly in there, and still wouldn't try. I mean, it wouldn't start, and that's the reading I was getting for compression, just under 50. So I guess I'll have to dig down further. I was hoping it would at least try. At least there's some compression there, but it didn't even sound like it's trying. So, alright, so you can see I just took the muffler off. I had somebody watch the spark. They said they did see spark, so you know, I don't know if it was weak or what, but then we shot gasoline straight into it to make sure it was coming through. We didn't even try. But I'm going to see if the valves are okay. If you remember, we checked the compression, and it was only about 50, maybe 50. Seemed like it should be enough to get it to even spark and try, but to fire off, but it wouldn't stay running, of course. But yeah, I don't know. Well, it sure is discolored on this side, ain't it? Alright, so you can see down here, looks like it was a blown head gasket. You can see where it's leaking out here on the bottom and here on the sides. So hopefully that's the problem. I was expecting a little more carbon buildup. It's still pretty thick over here and thick over here, but that was definitely leaking through here, here, and over here. All right, well, let's get us a head gasket. The more I looked at this, I was brushing all this off, and it actually did not look that bad at all. And looking at the gasket, it is not deformed anywhere. So the leakage there, it might have just been a loose head cover. You know what I mean? Kind of surprised. But you can see the blow-by marks here, there, and down here. But it might have just been loose. I wish I would have taken these off. I wish I would have taken the bolts off by hand. That way I could have really have really tell if these were just loose down here on the bottom. But I used my Milwaukee driver and they all just came out just bam, 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 bam. So I didn't really get a good feel. Oh well. I might try to seal it, put it back together, see if it'll start. If not, then I'll order a gasket. Alright, so I'm going to put this back on. I just sealed it. This one has no little locator pin or anything like that, so just delay. I'm going to tighten down too tight, just snug. Alright, press on with my hand. And like I said, I'm just going to do it snug. And I'll let it set for a while before I torque them down. Okay, I feel like I am at a crossroads here. I've got trying to get this engine running, and there's multiple problems. It seems like I'm cutting corners here every time I turn around. With these rivets here, no big deal. I mean, I can always get a rivet gun and rivet those back on. We've got the starter with the messed up gear here and under the flywheel, which on this one is plastic and it's pretty worn down. So I have to rely on the pull rope, just pulling it manually. But I would really like to get the electric start going, so I can get those parts in. I can fix the rivet. The Magneto isn't what's spec'd out for this, and I don't think I'm getting a strong enough spark. I just checked the compression and it seems a little low, but I went and resealed the head gasket and all that good stuff. So there's multiple things going on with this motor, and but what should I do? Should I continue on with this engine, get these parts in, or let me go over here under this pile of stuff? Lo and behold, so there's another 12 horsepower Briggs & Stratton. it'll fit right in there. Just change the exhaust. And the only thing that I'm worried about with this one is the crankshaft. You can see there's no provision for a pull start on that one. So if I switch the engine over, if I just take this one, swap it out, and work on it, then I won't have a pull start just in case the battery runs out on that, right? So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm considering. Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Huh. Any votes on this? Say yay or nay. And I'm going to split this into a series of videos, given the time frame that I'm spending on it. I'm spending a lot more than I thought I would have to, but it's fixable, right? So this is where I stand after this video, and so let me know, you know. Let me know what you think. I'm thinking about just swapping the engine out, getting that one running and doing without the pull start, or go ahead and get all the parts in, get those busted gears replaced, because there is a kit for that actually, and that plastic gear on the flywheel is being replaced by a metal one. The gear on the starter is still plastic, so that hasn't changed. But I can fix that, get the battery on there, and instead of pull starting it, I can have the electric start, get a faster spin. Maybe it'll generate a little more spark than what I can pulling it. But who knows? I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, just looking at the compression on this thing, it seemed kind of low, but it should at least try, right? Oh well, that's where I stand. So let me know what you think, and I will continue on, and we'll get this snapper going, because I really do like this snapper. You know, as far as if you're wanting a rear engine, you know, 30-inch cut, you can get in and out of gates, and you know, small to medium-sized yard. I mean, this is the way to go. I mean, it's built like a tank, right? And once I get it running, don't know if I'm going to keep it or sell it. It might be a keeper, right? But well, anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and watch out for the upcoming video on this.